For centuries, indigenous lands have been plundered for resources. This began with colonists and continues today. From gold rushes to modern mining, the story remains similar. Treaties were broken, lands seized, and people displaced. This legacy is a painful reminder of the struggle for land rights. Why are indigenous lands so often targeted by mining companies? The answer lies in a combination of geological factors and historical injustices. Many indigenous territories are located in areas rich in minerals and other natural resources. Centuries of displacement and forced assimilation have left many indigenous communities on marginal lands, often the last areas untouched by large-scale development. This confluence of mineral wealth and historical marginalization makes indigenous lands attractive targets for mining companies seeking to maximize profits. The lack of economic and political power in many indigenous communities often makes it difficult for them to resist the pressure from powerful corporations and governments eager to exploit their resources. This unequal power dynamic perpetuates the cycle of exploitation and raises profound ethical questions about the true costs of resource extraction. Mining operations have devastating impacts on indigenous communities, both environmental and social. The environmental consequences are readily apparent: deforestation, habitat destruction, water contamination, and air pollution. These environmental degradations not only damage ecosystems, but also directly threaten the health and livelihoods of indigenous peoples who rely on the land and water for their survival. The social impacts of mining are equally profound. Mining operations often displace communities, disrupt traditional ways of life, and lead to the erosion of cultural practices. The influx of outside workers can bring social problems such as alcoholism, drug abuse, and violence against indigenous women. These social and cultural disruptions tear at the fabric of indigenous communities, undermining their resilience and threatening their very existence. Section 4, Standing Rock and Beyond: Resistance and Legal Battles. Indigenous communities are resisting mining on their lands. From the Standing Rock Sioux tribes' fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline to the struggles in the Amazon rainforest, communities are rising to protect their sacred sites and future generations. These acts of resistance include peaceful protests, legal challenges, and international advocacy. Indigenous communities are turning to international law and human rights frameworks to assert their rights to free, prior, and informed consent. The legal battles are long and arduous, but crucial for indigenous land rights and environmental justice. Section 5, Seeking Harmony, Solutions and the Path Forward. Finding solutions to the conflict between mining and indigenous land rights requires a fundamental shift in perspective. We must move away from the paradigm of exploitation and embrace a model of sustainable development that respects the rights of indigenous peoples and the integrity of the environment. This requires recognizing the inherent rights of indigenous peoples to their lands, territories, and resources. Governments and corporations must engage in meaningful consultation and obtain the free, prior, and informed consent of indigenous communities before any mining activities are undertaken. Alternative economic models, such as ecotourism and sustainable agriculture, should be supported to provide indigenous communities with viable alternatives to destructive mining operations.